Hi, everyone. Welcome to our latest edition of SuperNova Commencements. I'm your host, Kashi, Sehgal, and we have a great show for you today, as always. First of all, it's commencement season, and so happy graduation to all of our students. We're here to supplement that this year. Last year, we were bringing you speakers in place of the commencements that weren't happening. So this year, you get 2 speakers maybe on your graduation week. Anyways, we've got really good speakers. You already know this. And we're excited to have you. We're excited that you're graduating, and we're excited for all the students who will continue to be with us. You know, you can continue to be with us even after you graduate. But even younger students, all the people that watch, we love all of you. All right, now that you guys know that, let's dive straight into our career powered through data segment. So Steppingblocks is our partner. They have 100 million plus data points worth of data for understanding what is really necessary for any particular career. It will give you lots of information, help you create some goals. Let's talk today about graphic design. So for a career in graphic design, the most common educational background degree is a degree in graphic design. I'm sure that's shocking to you, but yeah, you can specialize in that. So if you're interested, check it out. There are about 84,000 people in the industry. The average age of the industry is 43. And it's about 47% female. So, you know that I love when females take over these industries. So we got some work to do, few more percentage points. Top skills. This one seems pretty obvious, but Adobe Photoshop, web design, Adobe Creative Suite. Adobe is just all over this, right? We know that though. Skills that would make you the most if you really are trying to focus your career and starting out around that goal: creative directors, packaging and labeling, and art direction. A lot of people come from these schools: the Art Institutes, School of Visual Arts, Fashion Institute of Technology, and I had to mention the fourth one because it is here in Georgia, Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, also related to our speaker today. So speaking of our speaker, I think we should just bring her on screen. What do you say? Let's bring her on. Hi, Shannel.
Hey.
So everyone, Shannel Wheeler is founder of the Awesome Design Academy. She's also a creative professional. She's a designer. She's an educator. She's an author. She's a lot of things. She's done all kinds of amazing things. So we are excited to have her today. Shannel, please start us off and tell us where you're from, where did you go to school, what did you major in, and do you remember your graduation speaker?
So yes, well, first of all, thank you, Kashi, for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. Love talking about design. I'm Shannel, of course. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I attended school undergrad at the Ohio State, capital THE University, Go Bucks. And I majored in visual communication design, which is a fancy way for saying graphic design. And I also attended SCAD Atlanta for interactive design after that for a graduate study. And my graduation speaker, undergrad, honestly, I don't, because my feet were hurting and I had on these really high heels and I was focused on that. It was like somebody, like a state official or something. So I was just ready to throw my hat up in the air and be like, I did it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the moment. That's why we're here, because you remember your graduation speakers from this show, because you can just check back and see who was talking on the week you graduated. All right. So tell us, please, high level, your career path. How did you get from school to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always been a pretty creative person, and I've always loved drawing, painting, Legos, all that kind of stuff as a kid. And I wasn't even introduced to graphic design until high school, 11th grade. And from there, I just took it and ran with it. I loved it because I wasn't sure how I would have a career in art. Like, I didn't know if I was going to be a master painter or a drawer. So discovering graphic design kind of combined art and some more process together with technology to solve problems for different people and things. And so from high school, I just carried it all the way through. After college, undergrad, I moved to Atlanta and got my first graphic design job. And from there, I have worked for a slew of different corporations, small businesses, nonprofit agencies, had a mix of my own business dealings in there and freelance, all the way up to startup life. And now recently, that's been an 18-year span. And so now I have crossed over into the entrepreneurship world and am now working for myself, Awesome Design Academy, and also teaching as an adjunct professor.
Okay, so you mentioned several different types of companies that you have worked for. You mentioned nonprofit, corporation, startup, and now you're a founder, so you've started your own business. Is there a common thread or a common skill set that makes you successful at all of those different types of organizations? What skills are the same? What skills are different?
Well, I think number one, I think it's just my drive and wanting to just help people, because helping people is universal across whatever, whether it's corporate or startup. Everyone has a problem to solve, and graphic design, the way I simplify it, is basically just visual problem solving for a particular audience. So if you can know that in your mind that you're visual problem solving, the audience may change, but as long as you are focused on helping them solve that problem through your skills, then you can basically work for anybody or for yourself, and transfer that into those areas. And in addition to that, just leveling up and continuing to grow and to build on my not only technical skills like learning software like Adobe, but also just understanding business and strategy. Having that type of mind will help you to be able to translate that across any industry.
How did you develop those skills?
Yeah, so I would say that in addition to working at different places and just getting different experiences, I think freelance has been one of my biggest helps in my career. I started freelancing in college. Me and my roommate needed to pay like a light bill or something like that. And there was some party going on and someone asked us to do a flyer. And we just kind of did that, and we realized, oh, we can actually get paid for this. That's kind of cool. And so we kept on building on that. And over the years, I continued to just always do projects on my own in addition to working at different places. So there was never a time in my career where I didn't freelance, but freelancing really helped me to wear many hats, like marketing, sales, project management, all that kind of stuff. And so being able to have those diverse experiences really helps you to gain a lot of different skills that maybe you wouldn't have at one particular job. So that continuous learning throughout that whole time with freelance was really helpful.
Mm-hmm. So you would say that these different experiences made you better in one job. Like you borrowed experiences from other places and used them in a particular situation to help you think differently or give you a different perspective. So it's helpful.
Yeah, I agree. That, in addition to having mentors or being able to read books or pull from somewhere, people who have already been experienced and can give me some guidance. A lot of times you learn from your failures and adversity. So I've had a lot of that as well. And that's always a great way to learn. I shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes because it's just unavoidable. So I think all of those things, doing things by accident, all those things just kind of add into your skill set and just build your confidence over time, the more experience that you have. So it's kind of like, don't be afraid to just take the jump and to just make your own experiences, whether it's trying to dive into freelance or just take on different types of little jobs or projects, or figure out what is it you like to do through these experiences.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned taking risks and getting different perspective. How do you think you stand out as a designer? What can you do to set yourself apart? Yes, it's about excellent design, but what are the other things?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely being able to, number one, keep in mind that you're solving a problem, and being business minded as well. Because a lot of times people get caught up in the tactical part of design, like I'm using Photoshop, I'm using the brush tool, I'm drawing this type of shape, but that's like the visual aesthetic. But what is the actual strategy behind what I'm doing? Like, how does what I'm doing actually help this company sell something or market something or create a better brand? And so when you can think higher level, beyond just the Photoshop tools and things like that, that makes people really gravitate towards you, because they're like, oh, this person wants to help me grow my business. This person wants to help me improve my organization, and they have the design skills as well. So I think that's really important. I would say in addition to that, I took the route of also project management to stand out. So around the middle of my corporate career, I noticed that, a lot of these big design projects have a lot of moving parts, and I was being asked to lead a lot of these projects, and I wanted to be able to do that better. So I actually went and got my project management certification, PMP, which actually helped level me up a lot too, which that's kind of a right brain, left brain type of combination. Because if anybody who knows about project management, it's a lot, very, very process oriented, not really the creative side of things as much. So I think having those two skills together really helps people to know that I can not only do the work, but I can lead and organize it as well.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. And I think more people these days, to your point, are being more left brain, right brain combined. So students, if you don't know what that means, look it up, because
Google's your friend.
that is an expression we use a lot. Okay, so Shannel, you've written 2 books. So the first book is called 25 Things You Should Know Before Becoming, there it is, Before Becoming a Graphic Designer. And the other one, I'm going to hold it up.
It's called Design Insight, and that's actually a collection of about 50 interviews I did with all different types of designers, from just getting started to very well experienced and a lot of years into the game, just asking them different questions about, like, what is design? How do you do it? What are the tools you use? What have been some of your successes, adversities, some funny stories, like just kind of asking other people's opinion. The first book is more about what I think the 25 things are, and the second book is more about what some other people feel about design, just to kind of help you get into that space.
So I have to ask, what are some of the 25 things? Like, could you give us a tip or two that you think is really important?
Yeah, so one big myth, because I cover some myths in here and truths, but one myth is that people think you have to know how to draw or be very artistic to be a graphic designer, and that's absolutely not true. I have a lot of designer friends who are very, very good, but they can only draw like stick figures, because design isn't really about drawing per se. If you can do that, that's excellent. That helps you a lot. But it's more about composing things, being able to put together words and imagery that you may find from the camera or stock photography or stuff online, or you can have an illustrator, you can work with someone else and help and give you those assets, and then you put those together. It's more about being able to put together this type of content to solve that visual problem. And so if you don't know how to draw, that's okay. If you know how to, you can at least know how to sketch, and most people can do that. So that's totally fine. Another myth is that you absolutely have to attend a college or university in order to get into design. And I think that it just depends on the type of person that you are. But I know a lot of people who have attended school and have done great in design. And I know a lot of people who have done self-study and they've still been learning, they still have education, but it's more of a self-study, self-taught type of way. Maybe they've taken some classes on Udemy, or they've had mentors, or they've just done a lot of freelance. But there's more than one route to get to the same place. And so everyone's path is different. And so you don't necessarily have to attend a university to be successful in design.
Those are two great myths. Debunked.
Debunked right now.
And I really love the first one, because that means that theoretically, if I were to put in the effort and practice, I could become a graphic designer, because I can't draw a circle or a straight line, but perhaps I can learn how to pull things together well. So
absolutely. And that's why you have Photoshop and Illustrator, because they can draw the straight lines for you.
They do it for me. Yeah. Well, Shannel, maybe you can teach me how to do a few of those things.
I absolutely can. That is what Awesome Design Academy is all about. And we have classes for beginners, just like yourself, that can surprise themselves at what they can do after they take a few classes.
Yeah, so let's talk about you as an educator. Did you ever think that you would become an educator? Was that in the plan? How did this happen?
So it definitely wasn't in a plan like way back in the day, like when I was in college or just graduating. But it's funny you asked that, because I was looking through some old notebooks, because I'm a hoarder of notebooks. I have so many sketch pads. I think it was like 2017 or 2016, and I wrote down in the book, I am going to teach design as a college professor. I just wrote it down, and it has come into fruition. But I have always enjoyed opening up the world of design to other people, because a lot of times my clients, they felt like, how did you do that? And so some of them were curious to learn, and so I would tutor a couple of people, and then it kind of just kept on growing. But I knew that eventually I was going to want to go in that direction of teaching, and it just kind of evolved in itself, and opportunities came, and here I
am. Could you tell us a little bit more about the Awesome Design Academy?
Absolutely. So it started about 3 years ago. Very humble beginnings. Started teaching in the local library, people who were excited to learn about design, beginners. And from there, it just continues to grow. But it's really about teaching professionals or students who are beginners the fundamentals of design, especially if you don't know much about it and you're trying to enter into the space. Because I believe it's easy to learn. We can break things down very simply. Sometimes it may seem overwhelming, like, how do I get into this field? I have to know all this software. But really, I teach first from learning design principles and the basics, and then adding the software onto that. And so any professional who maybe doesn't want to even be a designer, just knows that they need to add the skill set to their lives to help them in their professional or personal work, I help them do that.
So great. It's actually a skill set that I've time and time again feel like I need, especially these days, right? As you're creating content all the time, it's good to just be able to do a few basic things on your own and then outsource the rest to somebody who really knows what they're doing. But it also helps you ask and find the right people for your project, because you have a better understanding of what you're looking for. So it's always good to be educated. Like you said, constant learning.
I agree. I agree with that for sure.
And we talked about your books, but I would love to chat a little bit about your decision to become an author. Why put this down on paper? You're already teaching.
So I wrote my first book in 2014, actually, and it was just really because some of my friends and closest confidants just said, hey, you should write about design because you're always talking about it and doing it. And I was like, well, whatever, maybe I'll do that. But then I got a little serious about it, and I wrote the first draft. It was really, really bad. I got really discouraged, so I threw it out. But I got invigorated at a design conference, and I realized I just need to speak in my authentic voice, not try to be somebody else. And that was the 25 Things book. That was in 2014. The next book came out in 2018. And I just kind of realized that I really like to just give people tools to learn, whether it's through blogs or teaching or whatever it may be. I even, I like to challenge myself. So I even made some graphic design flashcards so that if you don't even want to read, you can just take some cards and learn in that way. And it's a really easy reference tool. So I'm just always interested in figuring out how I can get people to learn design, because it's such a broad field. I don't think people realize how many industries need design. And if you can learn it, you can basically do it from anywhere, work for anyone, and you can be in control of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you made it bite-sized. It's like tweet size.
That's the way we like to consume content nowadays. People have a little lower attention span, so you kind of get in there when you can,
Yeah. Shannel, what would you say was a pivotal moment for you in your career?
Oh man, well, we don't have time for all the pivotal moments because there's a lot. But one of them definitely was 2010. I got laid off twice in 1 year. And from that happening, I was kind of like, you know what? Forget all jobs. I'm done with this because this is a crazy situation. And that actually was the first time I entered entrepreneurship. That lasted for about a year, working on an advertising magazine with me and my partner. But that kind of opened up my mind to know that I have the power to create, whether I'm in a job or I'm not. And that really, going through that adversity let me know that sometimes bad things happen, but there's sometimes a silver lining or a blessing in disguise that you learn this really big lesson that helps you to really open your eyes to new possibilities. And that really gave me confidence to know that I can create. I have the power to create. I can create lots of different things. I can create for myself, for other people. And no matter what, I have a skill set that I can continue to grow upon that will help me to maintain a lifestyle, whether it is for myself or for a job. Because sometimes you don't know what may happen in life, i.e., last year, but you got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really pivotal.
Absolutely. Yeah. That would definitely wake, I think, anybody up.
For sure. Yeah.
But you, like you said, found a silver lining. And I think that's one of the big takeaways from that story is you don't let life or a situation get you down. You figure out how to turn that negative situation or that no into something positive and something that works for you.
Absolutely. And I'll say the one other thing really quickly is just having faith and confidence in yourself. A story that I don't think I've shared with many people, especially not in a public forum, but coming down to Atlanta for my first design job, I was very naive and didn't really know much about a lot of things. And my job was supposed to start on a Monday. My parents and I drove down in our van from Maryland on like a Thursday or Friday before the job started. I had no place to live. I had like 2 printouts printed out from MapQuest or something of 2 apartments that I think I could have stayed in. One of them didn't work out. The other one was really nice, but the lady came out and said, ma'am, did you know that your credit score isn't really high enough for you to live here? I had no idea what my credit score was, didn't know anything. But luckily I had my job welcome letter, and it told them my income that I would be making, so they allowed me to stay there. Luckily they had a vacancy as well. So basically I kind of just drove down from Maryland in this van, not really knowing where I was going to stay, knowing that my job was going to start in a couple of days. I'm not recommending you do that, but I'm also saying that sometimes you have to go out on faith and just continue, just trust that you will make the right decisions, learn from your mistakes, but know that everything is not going to always work out exactly the way you plan. But if you keep on going, I think that life has a way of getting you to where you need to be.
Thank you for sharing that story with us.
Yeah.
I think it's really powerful for people to understand that life is really unscripted. You can try to script it as much as you want, but often you come to a choice and you have to decide for yourself what is right. And only you can know that. So only you could know that that was the thing that you were supposed to do.
Absolutely. And I felt it deep in my soul. I was like, I gotta be down here in Atlanta. So it happened.
There we are. Well, we're glad you're here. So in like your website and the things that I was looking through and reading through and learning all about Shannel, you talk about business and culture and design. So how do you bring business and culture together through design? What is that process?
Ooh, that's a good question. To me, that almost kind of sounds like branding, which is a very buzzword that we hear a lot nowadays, which I think a lot of people don't necessarily know what that word means. I think a lot of people think it's just like a whole bunch of stuff with your logo on it. But really, branding is perception. And so it's how everyone else perceives your business or organization. It's a collective of things that shape that perception. And so when we think about culture, we think about messaging, you think about the environment, you think about the business personality, and you think about the visual aesthetic design. All those things combine together to shape a certain perception about a company. Like, for example, the dollar store versus going to a very high-end, boutique. For the dollar store, there's a very different experience you're going to get there. Maybe different aesthetic, different environment. You have a different expectation. This is going to be cheap. This is going to be fast. Versus if I go to this high-end boutique, I'm going to pay a lot of premium. I'm going to pay a lot of money. It's going to be a very suave environment, and it's going to look a certain way. So all those things combined create a certain perception. And I think that culture, business needs, the environment and the messaging and the design all combine together to create that brand. So that sounds like branding to me.
Yeah, I like that. That elevated definition of branding. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's definitely more than the visual part, but the visual plays a really big role.
Totally. So taking that a step further and thinking about a company's brand, what role do you think companies should be playing today in community issues? Should they be taking these stands that you see?
I guess my biggest answer to that is a company should do what they genuinely, if they're going to be genuine about it, then they should. They should do it if they really feel or support that cause, but don't do things just for face value or just to say you're doing it, but you're not really doing it, because it's going to shine through at some point. So if you have a cause that you want to support or advocate for, just be human about it and do it with authenticity. But don't just do it because you want to post on social media and say, hey, I checked this box or whatever. So just do things with the right intent. And I think that it'll be a good look for you.
Yeah. Shannel, what would you say your purpose is?
Ooh, that's a good one. I was pondering over that a lot, even before I went into entrepreneurship the second time. But I would say my purpose is definitely to create, to help others. That's the very, very simple, I think, in a nutshell definition. How I create might change over time. So sometimes it's me sitting at a desk, grinding away at Photoshop. Sometimes it's me speaking and teaching. It might evolve to something else. But at the end of the day, I always want to be able to help people reach their goals and their potential, see them step into their best light through some type of creative process. So creating to help people, that's my purpose, I think.
I love it. All right, so let's take some student questions.
Let's do it.
We have several coming in. The first one, I also want to know this question, the answer to this question. Alex would like to know, I know Adobe is important. What's next? What is the new technology I need to know as a designer?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Like all you hear about is Adobe.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely a great suite of technology, and I use it as well because it is an industry standard. A lot of people use it, but there are alternatives. Like Affinity Designer is one of them. There's lots of different ones. I don't know all of them because I honestly stick with Adobe the most. But I would say I always say before you think about technology, always make sure you have a solid knowledge of design principles, because the technology will always change. But if you don't actually know how to design, if you don't know the ground rules of what makes a good design, then sometimes even knowing those tools won't make as much of a difference if you don't know how to put things together. So I would say focus on your design knowledge and principles first, and then whatever technology comes, if you can learn Adobe Creative Suite, I'm very confident you can learn almost anything else. I can pick up software pretty quickly. So
yeah, my Adobe experience and my preference is the Adobe Light stuff. So Premiere Elements, Photoshop Elements, like the real programs, too hard for me to use.
No, you can do it, Kashi. I know you can.
We'll talk. Okay. Michelle would like to know, what projects are you working on right now?
Oh, good question. So I'm actually working on some video stuff, a show teaser, or kind of like a trailer for a show that's coming out. That's very interesting because I'm kind of delving into some new or different skill sets kind of around direction and storyboarding and things like that. I've done it before, but I don't do it all the time. So that's kind of exciting to do that. Working on some more content and curriculum for Awesome Design Academy. So I was trying to figure out how to make that better. I'm also working on another initiative that I would hope to bring out in the summer to teach companies or people how to rebrand their companies. So that's a bigger initiative that I'm working through. I'm also working on some collateral, a media kit for an emerging speaker. It changes a lot. Sometimes I'll have as little as maybe 3 clients. I think that the most I've had, I don't know, something crazy like maybe 10 or 12, depending on, that was at my stage where quantity was better, more than quality. But now I'm more about quality. I don't have to have as many clients, but they might be higher paying, or they might be, something more that I really believe in. So it can change at any moment. It really is depending on how much capacity I can take at the time and what I'm doing as far as teaching and other things. Mm-hmm. Those are some of the things I'm working on right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And the quantity versus quality thing is something I think you get to once you've sort of established yourself, you can shift that proportion.
Yeah, it takes time because, yeah, I think I see what you're saying. I think when you first start off, like any and everybody who's asking you a request to do something, you're very excited to do it because you're wanting to get your feet wet in a new industry and just design, which I think totally makes sense. And I would definitely do that if you can, because that's what I did. But over time, I think, especially if it's been like 10, 15 years, you grow, you understand things a little bit better. And so you realize that I don't have to do 20 different things, and I can still I can still be happy with my workload, what I'm doing. I can probably even make even more money if I wanted to, because now I understand how to charge people. And I can devote my time to other things that I may want to do outside of design. So it takes some time, some practice, some maturity, but it really just depends on what stage you are in that life and what's your priority at the time.
Mm-hmm. Dante would like to know, what tech tools do you use on a daily basis?
Oh man, Dante, I always got the Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign tab open. at all times, pretty much. Always in those things. If you guys don't know, Illustrator is basically like vector drawing program. Photoshop is photo editing, and InDesign is mostly page layout. So I'm always doing a whole bunch of that. Definitely have to have, this is not a tech tool, but I just have to have Spotify on because I need some good music. So that's always a good thing.
That's
yeah,
tech.
I like tech, yeah. And what else do I use? Sometimes I use some project management tools, depending on if it's a bigger project, maybe something like Trello or Asana or Basecamp. Those are really good for collaborating with other people when you're doing a bigger project. But yeah, I think that Adobe Suite runs pretty hard on my computer, like all the time.
Allison would like to know, is it better to work freelance or to work for a corporation?
Ooh, so I really think this is where discernment comes in. Discernment is one of my most favorite words because basically wisdom and context based on what is best for you. So I can't tell you what's the best for you because you may be a person who likes to work in an environment with other people. And I think you get a lot of value from working in a corporation because you learn about a lot of different systems and processes. You get to work with lots of different people. And then freelancing is valuable too because you get to kind of explore a whole bunch of different areas that maybe you couldn't explore at your job. You get to be more of a boss in certain ways, but you do have more responsibilities. And depending on if you like that or not, that's up to you for you to decide. So you kind of have to experiment and figure out what makes sense, or you can do both like I did until you don't. So it's up to you what you want to do. But if you don't know, just try as many things as possible and you will figure out what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah. Christy, okay. Christy wants to know, how do you handle the situation if you create something and your client doesn't like it?
Oh, Christy, this has happened to me a million times, and it's going to keep happening because I just wrote a blog about this the other day. In design, you have to have thick skin. But the one thing you have to remember is that I'm solving a visual problem for a particular audience. So sometimes in your creative process, going from start to finish, your first try is not going to always be able to solve that problem. Sometimes we're mixing in our own personal preferences. Sometimes we have to get more questions from the client or the teammate or whoever it is that's asking us this project. Sometimes we just don't have enough understanding, so we just maybe don't get it right on the first try. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes, it just doesn't work out. And so you have to be able to learn how to iterate. There's also times when you know you've done the right solution and the client may push back, but then you may have to push back a little bit too. So if you know that I made this decision for a certain reason, I made it this color because this color represents vibrancy and your brand is vibrant. That's why I use this and not black. Then you have to be able to explain and educate your client about why you made certain choices and be able to, stand firm in that sometimes. So you just have to educate them because sometimes they don't know design like you do. And sometimes you have to bend and make changes, but it's just all part of the game.
Absolutely. Jennifer wants to know, what brands do you admire?
Man, that's a good question.
That's a good question, yeah. We got smart students.
Yeah, you guys, of course, I would expect nothing less. Let's see. I don't want to say the typical things. I'm really bad at favorite questions. Like when people ask me what's your favorite TV show or movie, I'm just like, there's so many.
Do you think there's a brand that's doing branding really well, or at least doing design really well? Do you find all of their content compelling?
So I'll do one typical mainstream answer just because I know it's working because they have such a cult following. But everyone who loves Apple computers, Mac, it's just it's a certain energy around I'm an iPhone person or I'm an Android person. It's this whole thing now. They pitted us against each other. But I think that's a really powerful brand when you can make people feel like I'm going beyond the product and the device and the aesthetics. Now I feel like I'm part of a community that we're empowered to do more than maybe some other people can, because we have this brand in our hands that we can use. We see it, it's inundated in us all the time. And so I think that they do a great job visually as well, because it's very clean, very straight to the point. But definitely making people feel like a community, it does a great job at that for sure.
Rafi would like to know, he said, you mentioned failures. What has been a failure that stands out and that you have learned from?
Oh, yeah. We don't have enough time for that either. I will say I had a client. This is a good lesson on trying to make sure you try to trust your gut and stick with your intuition, because sometimes things will seem a little weird, but you'll still do it anyway. But I had a client a long time ago. It was for a big organization, and I was creating a big publication for them, and it was in a different state. And I only had one point of contact that I was working with. And this project was only supposed to last for about maybe 3 or 4 months. It ended up lasting almost 2 years, which sounds really ridiculous and crazy, because it was. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of things that I didn't scope out in the beginning that I didn't know were going to happen. And basically, I did my best to put this publication together. I thought I did a great job. And when it was time for them to give me the feedback, that one point of contact told me that what I did was absolutely incorrect. It was not right. We had to start over again. The whole committee who was looking at it said they can't read it. It's not a good job. What are we going to do? We have to start over. And at that point, I kind of felt like my confidence dropping as a designer. I really actually questioned, is this the right field for me? Because I had put all my heart and soul into this thing that was such a challenging project and client. Really, really crazy stories that I can't get into with this person. I'm having flashbacks. But at the end of the day, what I learned was that let me go ahead and contact someone else from the organization just to make sure I'm not crazy. And what ended up happening, and I had my boxing gloves on, because I really thought, man, we're about to do battle. Like, this other person's going to tell me you did a terrible job, Shannel. I agree with so-and-so, you didn't do a good job. Ended up talking to someone else a little higher up. Shannel, I'm so sorry. You did a wonderful, excellent job. We've been having problems with so-and-so. Don't worry about her anymore. We're going to close this out. Excellent job. I'm so sorry for all the pain that, all the stuff that has gone on, but thank you for your service helping us. And so I had a big sigh of relief because I really felt like I did put my heart and soul into it. But I just learned that, it's good to have more than one point of contact with really large projects like that. And it's also good to just trust your gut in the beginning, because there were some red flags about this person that I kind of ignored because I needed some money. And so I kept on going. But, it was a good lesson. I can laugh about it now. It wasn't funny when I was going through it. So
this is also where we talk about quality versus quantity.
That's right.
Yeah.
But when you have to pay your car note, you're like, well, let's just get this quantity for right now. But as you become more financially literate, you become more responsible. You realize, okay, let me plan. I can do a little better, and I won't hopefully allow those type of situations to happen, at least not as much.
Mm-hmm. All right. Last question, Shannel. Andre wants to know, what does success look like for you?
Yeah. So success to me is always growth, because I love growing. I think growing is very important, whether you're in a job or you're working for yourself, to always continue to learn more and to grow, because none of us know everything. And so the more that you can grow, the better you can become. So I think that's success. I think success is also being able to help people in a meaningful way and to reach more people in a meaningful way. So if I can give someone some advice, or they can learn something that will help them grow in their business or in their personal dealings, I feel good about helping them. And so that makes me feel successful. And also just having peace in my decisions and doing the things that I think are important and that matter to me, and not always just doing what other people think I should do or following someone else's path, but really following my own path. I think that's successful too. Just having peace in my own decisions.
I like that so much. Having peace. My decisions.
Need that.
So good. Okay. I think I need to redefine, maybe add to my definition of success. Okay. Well, everyone, we're out of time today. Thank you so much for your amazing questions. Shannel, thank you so much for being here and for your amazing wisdom. Everyone, you can find us on the web, supernovacommence.com. Sign up for the mailing list. You should already know by now, but if you don't, we send you all kinds of cool things by email. So please sign up. Otherwise, you won't know and you won't be part of the club.
Can I say one quick thing?
Yes.
For you guys who are listening, please connect with me on LinkedIn if you would like. I would love to answer any additional questions. But also, check out awesomedesign.academy. So awesomedesign.academy. I'm actually going to be hosting some complimentary portfolio reviews next month. And so if you would like to have your portfolio reviewed for free by me, then go onto that website and sign up. And I'd love to help you out in that area. So awesomedesign.academy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Shannel. And we will post to that in the show notes. So everyone will be able to find that really easily. This is an opportunity. She's offering you a door that's open. So take it, step through it, get some advice, get some help. And yeah, that is our show for today. So students, again, those who are graduating, congratulations. Those who still have a few years or a year, you're going to get there at some point. So we're excited to still have you. And just remember, it is a blessing to be a blessing. So be kind to people today and this week as you go through your week. And stay safe and healthy. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.